now, broadcasting from deep behind enemy lines in the occupied territory of the Socialist Republic of California, your host, former California State Assemblyman and Governor candidate, Tim Donnelly.
Hey, welcome to another edition of the Radio Free California Network. This is the Tim Donnelly Show, and I am your host, former California State Assemblyman and Governor candidate, Tim Donnelly. And today we are joined by none other than award-winning actress Morgan Brittany. Morgan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here. I'm in studio.
She is in the Radio Free California Network studios. You made the drive.
I did.
And survived.
Yes. It was
great. It's great to have you here. And of course, you would write a scintillating piece for us to discuss. Is Donald Trump the next Ross Perot? We'll be getting into that in a little while. But what do you think about this 2016 race? We've now got Bobby Jindal in.
Hey, come on in, everybody. The water's fine, right? That's the Republican Party.
I know, but I think somebody needs to let them know that Jaws is coming.
Yeah.
We need to play that music.
I tell you, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, it's a good thing because we have a lot to choose from. We have a very diverse platform. I mean, a group of people as well. We really do. I mean, we've got Hispanics, women, African Americans, governors, senators, you name it, we've got it. Brain surgeons, and Donald Trump.
Wait, he gets his own category?
He gets his own category.
Oh, I think he deserves it. We'll get into that a little bit later. But did you see the Washington Post hit piece on Bobby Jindal saying he's not brown enough, that he's trying to scrub off his brownness?
What is, he wasn't Indian enough or something, right? He was losing his Indian. What is wrong with these people?
That's the part I don't get. They accuse everyone else of being a racist, but I think the old adage is true that when you point a finger at somebody else, there's four pointing back at you.
Yeah.
And the Washington Post, whoever wrote that, is a racist, in my opinion, and is obsessed. We have a culture that is now obsessed officially with race. Race is responsible for everything. Somebody decides to go into a building and shoot 9 human beings, and all they can talk about is what their race was.
Exactly.
They want to rip down a flag that had nothing to do with the killing. Last time I checked, the Confederate flag was not used to kill the people in the church.
Exactly.
It was
a
crazed is not the right word. It was a diabolical, I believe, demon-possessed individual who allowed hatred and evil spirits to overwhelm him, and he acted on all of that and did something horrendously evil. It's unspeakably evil.
And who knows what influenced this guy? You know, the media cherry picks everything. They'll look into his background, but they'll leave out certain items that will not fit their agenda. I mean, who knows what films influenced this
Oh,
kid,
my gosh.
You know?
Surprised. I can't believe you just said that, because I was just going to take you there, being from Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Have you noticed that the left continuously always tries to create a narrative in which somebody who is a right-winger or a right-wing extremist or, a freedom-loving American is what I call him, is to blame somehow for the actions of a deranged individual. But they never look at the industry that is completely overwhelmed by leftists, and that's Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these guys are anti-gun, but they use a gun in every scene in every movie.
Every movie out there. And these actors drive me crazy that come out and go, well, we should get rid of the Second Amendment. And what do? They've got every single movie they're in. They're blowing people away. I mean, what is this?
Well, I like people like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, who have actually acknowledged that the Second Amendment is important and that it is a fundamental right, and it's there for us to protect our lives.
Right.
Now,
right.
they haven't gone as far as my, well, I can't call him my friend, but I'd love to know him, Vince Vaughn.
Oh, yeah. I went shooting with Vince Vaughn.
Well,
yeah, it was great.
His comments were legend, because what he said was what the rest of us are thinking, that it's not just about defending your life. It's not just about hunting or sport shooting or any of those other enjoyable pursuits. It is about defending your freedom from a government that is hell-bent on extinguishing it.
That's right. Oppressive government. And that's what the Founding Fathers said. They wanted to make sure that the people were protected and were able to defend themselves. There's no way around it. The thing that concerns me is that everything with the left and the progressives is that they're trying to change history and they're trying to say things that were never said. They're trying to reinterpret the Constitution and call it a living, breathing document. I'm sorry, but it's not. It is what it is. It's just like this Supreme Court decision that's going to come up. It is what it is. You know, that's the way you need to interpret the law. You look at it, you read it, and you go, okay, that's it. I don't get it.
Yeah, and well, especially when it always seems to be living and breathing when it comes to our rights.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When it comes to government, when it comes to government power, they always enforce the government power point of view, and you get the sense that they have built a moat around themselves. Mm-hmm. And anyone who crosses that is in danger, deadly danger. But they have no problem breaking into your house and violating your rights, and there's no recompense. There's no path to gain any what's the right word?
I don't know. But you're absolutely right. It's their way or the highway. And if you disagree with them, who was this woman today? This EPA person who said that if you are a global warming denier, you're not normal. What is this all about? She's starting this narrative that we're crazy. You're crazy, I'm crazy because maybe we have a differing view about global warming. Hey, they had a differing view about global warming about, 20 years ago. They thought it was global cooling.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but isn't that chilling?
Yes,
the thought
it is.
That and they use that term, climate denier.
Yes.
You are a climate denier. Mm-hmm. By the way, I'm not a climate denier. I know that there's a climate.
So do I. I see it every day.
It doesn't change a whole lot. It's hot in the summer in the desert. Would you agree?
I would certainly agree.
And in the mountains, sometimes in June, we get snow. And we got snow before they ever coined the term global warming or global climate change. And it will probably snow in the mountains in June sometime in the future as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I don't believe that Barack Obama or our good friend Bill Clinton or his buddy Al Gore, I don't believe that any of them have any control or any idea, nor would I count on any of their predictions. They couldn't control themselves.
Exactly.
So how could they control the weather?
But that's the arrogance of these people. They think they can control everything. I mean, who are they? They don't believe God is almighty. They believe they're almighty, and they believe that they can control the weather. Well, really? I've got a news flash for them.
Well, yeah, and you know what? And they act like it's all new. Like somehow the communists didn't replace God with government years ago.
Yeah.
And what did that lead to?
Oh, man. Look what it led to.
Yeah, we saw 30 million people exterminated under Stalin.
Exactly.
Of course, I always wonder where they get those numbers, because how in the world would you even know? But let's say it's 1 million. Yeah. Let's say it's 20 million. That's sheer insanity. But see, in order to do that, you've got to disarm the people first.
Of course.
Because otherwise they will resist. Mm-hmm. And it is certainly not lost on this show that they're trying to disarm Americans, and they demonize freedom-loving Americans every chance they get. They blame them for things like this shooting and use it as an excuse to come in and say, well, we've got to protect the rest of society from guns.
Guns, yeah.
Well, how about protecting them from idiots in power like you? How about protecting not you? Excuse me. I was talking to Barack Obama, or any of the other idiots that are in power. John Boehner. There's a to be bipartisan. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. If you want to join the conversation, 323-746-TALK, 323-746-8255. We will continue the conversation with actress Morgan Brittany on The Tim Donnelly Show.
This is international film and television star Nick Searcy, and I don't often drink talk radio, but when I do, I drink The Tim Donnelly Show. Stay thirsty, my friends.
Hey, you've heard me talk over and over again about Burro Canyon Shooting Park, which is arguably the greatest place on the face of the earth to exercise your Second Amendment. But it just got better, because if you mention the Tim Donnelly Show, they'll give you free stuff. You get a free hat, free coffee cup, while supplies last if you mention Tim Donnelly Show. So get out there and get shooting. For directions or more information, call Burro Canyon at 626-910-1344. Welcome back to the Tim Donnelly Show on a sweltering Southern California summer day. It is summer, huh?
Yeah, it is summer.
This isn't climate change.
No, this is summer.
It's supposed to be hot. Hey, did you hear that Harry Reid wants to ban the mascot at University of Nevada, Las Vegas campus, UNLV? Do you know what their mascot is?
It's the Rebels?
Yeah, the Rebel. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. But this is going a little bit too far, but it's a perfect example of how the left forces a narrative to hell with the facts and it rides on feelings. Mm-hmm. But it really has no purpose.
No.
It's not as if you get rid of most Americans are rebels.
Exactly.
That's how we got founded.
That's
we rebelled against the centralized control of a king who was really a dictator, and we created this great experiment in freedom, but we're extinguishing it with political correctness and just outright stupidity and ignorance.
Yeah, and wouldn't you think that we have more pressing issues to deal with other than this? Harry Reid, this is on the top of his agenda, not ISIS drowning people in swimming pools and murdering them. I mean, this is ridiculous that this is what the left is talking about. The Confederate flag, and this, I'm sorry, but we have bigger fish to fry.
Well, yeah, but after they ban the Confederate flag, then what?
Yeah, then what? The American flag?
What's next?
It's a slippery slope because they could literally say at some point, this is offensive. We need to change. We've had this old flag for so long, but it doesn't mean the same. We are a diverse country now. So we're going to put little pieces of everything in our flag and make it inclusive. I'm telling you, mark my words, this is coming.
Well, you could be right. I have made the prediction that they're going to levy a white privilege tax. Anyone who's white has to pay a special tax just for the privilege of having white privilege.
Well, no wonder that girl last week passed herself off as an African American. No wonder she didn't want to pay the tax.
She was getting out ahead of the time. Hey, we have a caller here, good friend of the show, Gary from North Dakota. Gary, welcome back to the Tim Donnelly Show.
Well, how you doing, Tim? And how are you doing, Morgan?
Hey, Gary,
Doing great.
good to hear from you.
It's nice hearing from you, and I really enjoyed reading your article today. I read that article you posted. It was really well written, and it was so factual.
Oh, thank
we really
you.
appreciate you standing up for us. We really do.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. But I was listening to your stance on gun control and stuff, and I told Tim Donnelly, I think, well, he mentioned it too, that I think in North Dakota we have more guns than people up here, and we're very safe. We got a very low crime rate up here too. So,
well, that's why freedom is not an endangered species in North Dakota.
Not yet, but you just never know what the federal government will do. They hate freedom, and what they're doing too. I think someday they're going to try to ban the American flag, especially in the big cities first. Where the liberals have prominence and power. And then I read something on a Facebook page, and can I mention the name of the page on the air, Tim?
Well, if you think it's appropriate, as long as it's not like a porn site or anything, Gary.
Oh, no, nothing like that.
I think Gary's turning red now.
Liberal America.
Oh, okay.
It's called Liberal America.
Okay.
And if you want to check in and check on that, there's a lot of. If you want to see hate speech, go to that page. There's one person that's calling for the extermination of white people.
Oh. See, I don't
lovely.
have to go to that Facebook page to see hate speech. I just read the New York Times, the LA Times.
Hey, listen, you can go on Twitter and see all these people, these leftists, these progressives that get on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
It is vile and scary what they say.
Oh, and that's the thing. Someday somebody's going to take it at heart, and they're going to try to impress some public figure by going out and assassinating somebody.
Yeah.
Thinking that they're a hero, or a martyr, I'm afraid of that.
Well,
I mean, there was calls to assassinate the NRA members. So, I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead there, Morgan.
No, I was just going to say, you know what? We've always had crazies in this world. Always. I mean, that's just the way it is. There's nutty people that do nutty things, but the media blows it out of proportion, and it makes it look like everybody's like that, or everybody on our side is like that. They've indoctrinated people to believe by going to the movies, and many times you can see this, how the military guys are crazy, how the priests are pedophiles, and so that kind of indoctrination makes people tend to believe that. They push their agenda. And they make the American people believe that that's the case, and we don't push back on any of that.
Well, and it's not easy.
We don't.
It's not easy when people get their news from the movies.
Yeah.
And they form their political views from the movies.
And Jon Stewart.
And Jon
right?
Stewart
Yeah.
and what's that other
Bill
guy?
Maher.
Bill Maher.
Yeah.
It's extraordinarily difficult, but. Movies like American Sniper. We had Taya Kyle on yesterday with her new book, American Wife. Movies like that, I believe, are, and also Lone Survivor, are really reinvigorating Americans to understand the complexities of war, understand the costs of war, but also understand that if we don't stand with the people that are out there standing on that front line for us, we don't have a country.
No, but what did Hollywood do?
Don't.
What did Hollywood do when that movie came out and absolutely blew the lid off the box office? They did everything in their power to smear Chris Kyle, say, well, he was a killer, he was a this, he was a that. They did everything in their power to do it. And that's what they did because, trust me, they were gritting their teeth going, how could this movie be making this kind of money?
And the movie, the screenplay was written by a guy from my little town up in the mountains. It was really a conglomeration of Americans who came together to honor Chris Kyle's life. This was before he died.
Right.
And tragically, was murdered trying to help a fellow veteran. And, you're right. But see, nowadays you have to wear... You have to wear the criticism of Hollywood as a badge of honor.
Of course. Yeah, you do.
Go ahead, Gary.
The problem with a lot of people in Hollywood, they live in a bubble. They're really not out with the people. They have their own little fantasy.
Morgan Brittany is, by the way. We just want to make that clear. She drove herself here. No driver.
That's right.
So, but I've seen this, and I've had a few liberal celebrities I've debated with on gun control, and most of them, what ended the conversation, I just asked them, I said, do you have armed bodyguards to protect you? And that usually ended the debate real quick. Ask them those questions. Doesn't hurt.
That's right.
One attack me, but the rest of them don't.
We can always count on you, Gary, to come up with something pithy, and that's good because we're out of time here, but thank you.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Okay,
thanks for taking my call and everything.
Oh, you got it. We'll be right back with your calls after this break. 323-746-TALK. If you've been listening long to the Tim Donnelly Show, you know that we talk constantly about defending freedom and about defending our natural inalienable rights. The Firearms Policy Coalition is a partner of the Tim Donnelly Show. But more than that, they're on the front lines every day in Sacramento and all across the state, in the courts, defending your Second Amendment right, that is a natural right that the government merely acknowledged in the Second Amendment. If you value your freedom, then you need to join Firearms Policy Coalition. Become a member. I'm a member, and I'm happy to support an organization that is doing such an incredible job. Go to joinfpc.org. The Tim Donnelly Show sent you. Or go to timdonnellyshow.com and click on the FPC link to make it easy. But whatever you do, join today. FPC.org.
Always dancing down the street with this wavy blue eyes. Every new boy that you meet, he doesn't know the real surprise. Here she comes again when she's dancing beneath the starry sky.
That's what we're doing here. We are dancing. That's a great music. Where in the world did you find that? I think that's a little before your time. So, we are, threw myself off here. You are listening to the Radio Free California Network. This is Tim Donnelly, your host, and I'm joined today by a celebrity guest host, actress Morgan Brittany of Dallas fame. You know, I have to admit, in the interest of all full disclosure, that when I was 14, I think I had a crush on you.
You think you did?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I want to admit it. I don't know how much trouble I'm going to get in when I get home. But no, I watched Dallas every Friday night religiously. As a matter of fact, I would babysit because we didn't have a TV at my house.
Oh, wow.
So the cool thing when I babysat is I could watch TV, and I would make myself a cheeseburger. But you know, a cheeseburger is so much better on a barbecue than it is in a pan when you don't know how to cook.
Yes, I know. It's so true. You want to know a funny story about Dallas? I played the bad guy on the show along with JR. I was like the female version of JR
you were
on the show. I was
the bad
really bad guy, and I was one of those crazy people that you see, out there. But the funny thing was, you think you had a crush on me. You know where I had my biggest fans?
Where's
Believe
that?
it or not, in the prison system.
Oh, my word.
I'm not kidding you. My poster was hanging in cells all over the place.
Oh, that
it was
is too
hilarious,
funny.
but it was kind of scary in a sense because they'd send me letters, and say, I really can't wait till I can get out and meet you.
Oh, wow. You got the Noskinator and they're just dying.
I mean, isn't that so flattering?
Well, yeah.
Well, it's yeah. I won't even say anything about some of your fans, but
Yeah, Tim, you know what? I didn't have fans until I started working for you.
hey, you're a celebrity
that's
now. What can I
right,
say?
that's
You know,
right.
she's an on-air personality,
And
whether
they
you
should-
like it or not.
They should see her too. She'd really have fans.
Yes. Well,
Okay, Morgan, you're not helping the cause.
yes. I am surrounded by women who are beautiful on the inside as well as the outside, and that's how it should be. But that, you know what? We are Americans. We live in the greatest country on the face of the earth, in spite of the left's attempt to drag us down. Isn't it funny? They never want to build up.
No.
They never want to pull somebody up to a higher level because that's a threat to them. They always want to drag everybody down to the same level of misery.
Yeah.
Or tax them down to the same level of misery, or steal from them until everybody's poor and dissatisfied. And
Yeah.
but let's switch to something that I really got a kick out of your article. And if you haven't read it, it's at WorldNet Daily. Is Donald Trump the next Ross Perot? Well, I ask you, since I have you here, is he?
Well, I'll tell you, like I say in my article, this country's extremely polarized right now. And I mean, in more ways than one. But it's almost like the 2016 election is still way far away in my mind. But it looks like everybody's tending to make up their mind already. They know what they want because they know that the government has been lying to them. They're sick and tired of it. Seriously, on both sides. But the left is gravitating more toward the socialist far left agenda. I mean, look at Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders is just tearing it up.
He is.
And you've got here's the assessment of the Tim Donnelly Show. We have determined that a new party has been formed. It just hasn't been officially named. We call it the Establishment Party. We believe that the ticket is Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton. They just can't figure out who's on top.
Right.
And in more ways than one. But
you said it, I didn't.
well, I mean, come on. It's ludicrous. You have Hillary, who is owned by the people across the street from the people who own Jeb Bush.
I know.
That's it. That's the only difference.
I know.
Is whether they live on the left side of the street or the right side of the street. They still want to have, they want to control the government because they're so wealthy and powerful.
Yep.
And the interesting thing, and I think we've seen this largely with I would say conservatives. Conservatives are getting to the point where when we send somebody off to Congress, we expect that person to stand with us, especially if they specifically stated on certain policies, like we're going to stand against the amnesty, we're going to
stand against Obamacare.
Obamacare. And of course, then Obama trade came up.
Yeah.
And there's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You haven't even read it. So now you got Republicans turning into they're channeling their inner Pelosi. You got to pass it before you can find out what's in it. And you've got these battle lines being drawn. I mean, we've got Marco Rubio as the deciding vote. Mm-hmm. And then even over on the Congress side, we've got guys like Jason Chaffetz, who, if you don't know who he is, he was a congressman who came from Michigan. The guy slept in his office, and was one of the first hardcore Tea Partiers who got elected.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah,
really good guy.
He was the first one, and I copied him. He was the first one to put all his votes out on Facebook. And say, here's why I voted no on every single bill. Which I thought was brilliant. He's got a great following around the country. Now he's the hit man for John Boehner?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I heard an interview with him this morning, and it was pretty much like, okay, what happened? Some of these guys, some of these committee heads of the committees in the Republican Party that voted against Boehner on this bill are losing their committee positions, and you're the hatchet man that's taking it away from them. Is that true? And he says, well, sometimes, I mean, that's not the whole story. I mean, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And it's like, what is that? Really?
Sometimes you have to chop off the legs of the guys that are out there on the battlefield in front of you, the ones who are taking the hits, the ones who are being the Marines. I don't think so. You don't shoot somebody in the back. You don't attack somebody from behind. This is underhanded, and what it is, it's a symptom of how powerful the seduction is of a position of power.
Oh, exactly. Now that's bringing us back to Trump, right? Donald Trump, I think.
Well done segue, by the way.
I think he is resonating with more people than you know.
Oh, well.
I really do.
I think you're right.
Yeah, because I'll tell you something. The man talks straight. He doesn't talk politics. He's not politically correct. He says what he thinks. He's a self-made man. He's a billionaire. He doesn't need their money. He's not beholden to lobbyists. He's not beholden to donors. And I think a lot of Americans are sitting back and saying, I may give this guy a second look because people are sick of it.
We gave him a little dressing down on this show with a news clip because, some of what he said was so out there. And, wow, we had caller after caller who was saying, hey, we love the guy.
Yeah.
And leave him alone. Then I got home. Mm-hmm. And then my wife was like, you're totally wrong on Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump.
Did she really?
And by the way, she is she's one of those deep hidden indicators like the canary in the coal mine that tells you the political pulse of the country. Yeah. And you're right. And by the way, one of the ways that you can measure whether somebody's got an effective campaign is by who attacks him.
Exactly. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to discredit him. Look, Trump is who he is. Trump is Trump. We all know it, warts and all, whatever it may be. But you know something? He's a straight shooter as far as I'm concerned. I've had dealings with him in the past. And the guy doesn't mince words. He doesn't say things he doesn't mean. He has dealt with foreign policy. Now, you know what? I'm sitting here. He doesn't have a, shot at becoming the nominee.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
But I'm thinking with the money behind Jeb Bush and all of the stuff that goes on. I'm so cynical. I know.
You have reason to be cynical. And look, you saw what happened with my gubernatorial race with all the money and the powerful national figures that came out to basically extinguish a threat. That's it. We can depersonalize. It doesn't matter whether it's me or whether we're talking about Chris McDaniel in Mississippi, who. Yeah. And by the way, we need to pull the tapes. I believe there was a recording. Remember when Haley Barbour, who was with the Republican Governors Association, he was also, I believe, one time the head of the RNC, and he did that hit piece on Chris McDaniels, calling him a racist that they only sent out to black Democrats. Yeah. And now Haley Barbour pops up in the news defending the Confederate flag. Now, look, what people don't understand, and we've discussed this, is we can defend free speech, we can try to educate people, but symbols can be very powerful things, especially if they're misunderstood.
Sure.
And we're going to see a showdown on this flag because people in the South, you visit Georgia quite a bit. I'm from the South. Yeah. My dad lives in South Carolina. My aunt lives in Charleston. And, that battle flag isn't about racism to them. It's about their heritage. It's about their history. It's about standing up to the federal government. And it's about states' rights in some ways. But when Hollywood comes to town and you have enough people shouting loud enough, it's like they're trying to shout down freedom of speech.
Well, they are. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to silence us in every possible way they can. I mean, fortunately, you have the radio. You have a voice. You can speak out on the radio. And fortunately, right now, the internet, we're very powerful on there. But you're absolutely right. And the thing that concerns me is that whether or not you look at the Confederate flag as a good thing or a bad thing, it's still a piece of our history, and it makes people think, and it opens up a dialogue, and you can have a discussion.
And
you
that
don't bury
is
it.
The point. It's history, and if you try to bury history, you will eventually repeat it.
That's exactly right.
Well, we got to take a quick break here. 323-746-TALK if you want to sneak in a comment, because after the top of the hour, we're going to have an update on the Girawan farm, where you have the farm workers union trying to force unionization on people who don't want it. Hey, if you find yourself in my hometown of Twin Peaks, don't leave without stopping by the grill at the Antlers Inn. It's right in the heart of Twin Peaks. They serve dinner every night. They're right there at Highway 189 and Bear Springs Road. They have the best steaks, the best sushi. No matter what you have, make sure you call ahead for a reservation. 909-336-2600. 909-336-2600. And tell them Tim Donnelly sent you. If you're just tuning in to the Tim Donnelly Show, well, you missed almost a full hour, but fear not. All you have to do is go to timdonnellyshow.com, click on the Listen 24/7 link, and the show repeats immediately following this program. And you can go to the previous shows tab if you want to catch up. But I am joined today in studio by the lovely actress Morgan Brittany of Dallas fame, but more so, you've really made a name for yourself writing. You write for WorldNet Daily.
And Politichicks.
And Politichicks, our good friend Anne Marie.
Right.
And also, what kind of a host am I to not have a copy of
the book? What women really want?
What women really want. Right here, handy. So you take the mic. I'm going to grab a book out of the bookcase.
Yes.
And hold it up for somebody to take a picture.
There you go. Yeah. What women really want. It was kind of an interesting deal. Anne Marie Morrell and Dr. Gina Loudon and myself, we got together. We were doing a little web show. And we got together and decided, let's write about this. Let's talk to women. Let's get in the face of the feminists, the leftist feminists, and tell it like it really is, and tell them what women really want. And that's
you did
what we did.
No, this is a very readable book, by the way, because when I was running for governor, I didn't have any time to read anything, and yet I snuck in a little time. Here, you got to get us together here. Oh. We're posing for a picture which you can't see on because it's radio. But by the way, see, I even have your signature here.
You do. Look at that.
This is a great book. So if you have not read this, you need to get a hold of it. Just look up What Women Really Want. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Politichicks.com.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, you ought to buy your copy from Politichicks and support the good work they're doing. That website is really exploding.
It is. We're doing very well, and we're doing a lot of appearances across the country as well, talking to women, talking to women's groups, and guys as well. I mean, we're not discriminating at all. So we're really trying to get people motivated. We're trying to make the conservative movement understand that they have to get out and they have to make their voices heard. They really, really do.
You have to, because you can't ignore politics anymore, because politics is not ignoring you.
No, it's running your life.
And it seeks to increase its control over every aspect of our daily life now. I mean, in California, you can't go to the grocery store without being confronted by the ugly tentacles of the state government that wanted to snatch away the plastic bags with which you carry home your groceries.
That's right.
And if it were not for the grocers who pulled together and some other organizations who raised millions of dollars to put a ballot initiative on the ballot for 2016 so that the voters can vote on it, which has essentially created injunctive relief, meaning it stopped this stupid bill. You know, I wish there was a way to go back in time when I was in the assembly and count how many times I used the word stupid bill.
Yes. stupid
because
bill.
there were so many, and they're so unnecessary, thousands and thousands and thousands of encroachments that are completely unnecessary. Do you need the government to tell you, how many miles to drive? And do you want them to tax you more for roads? Did you hear that? Jerry Brown wants to raise taxes because he forgot to put it in the budget.
Oh, yeah. It absolutely, like, these people don't have anything else to do except to run your life and my life. I'm so tired of it. I grew up out here in California and in the 1950s, and I got to tell you, my life is so different than what my kids grew up with. They will never know the freedoms that I had. They will never know what it was like to grow up in California as a free. That's all I can say.
Well, you were talking about it just before the show about you spent some time in Georgia.
Yeah, half the time, yeah.
And you got a concealed carry there.
Yes.
And you kept asking them, is that all I have to do?
Exactly. Even when I went in to purchase my handgun, it was like very easy. You just show them your driver's license. I have a Georgia driver's license. Show them your license, and they go, "Oh, okay, let me have a credit card."
They treat you like a free American.
They treat you like a free American. They don't ask you a million questions. Then I went to get my concealed carry permit. I filled out one form, gave them $40. Went to get my fingerprints done. The police department said, "Great, just be careful." And I went, "I will." They said, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We need to be more like that.
That's right. Hey, we've got a great guest coming up the top of the hour. We're going to find out why the government wants to force farm workers into a union they don't want to join. Stay tuned. Hey, if you like shooting as much as I do, you've probably been to a lot of ranges. Unless you visited Burro Canyon Shooting Park, you've never seen anything like it. On the way there, you'll find yourself taking pictures as you traverse the majestic Azusa Canyon and wind your way up into the Angeles National Forest. With over 600 acres, including 19 private ranges, there's something for everyone. There's rifle and pistol ranges for beginners, right up to advanced shooters. And there's plenty of spaces to shoot sporting clay. You can make a family day of it, or you can bring a group for team building exercises. Bring a picnic lunch. On the weekends, they provide lunch. And don't worry, they always have ammo in case you forget yours or run out. One thing I can guarantee is that once you visited my friends at Burro Canyon Shooting Park, you'll be hooked and you'll keep coming back. BurroCanyon.com is their website, or call them at 626-910-1344, 626-910-1344. Hey, welcome back to the Radio Free California Network. I am Tim Donnelly, your host, former California State Assemblyman, and I am joined today by a celebrity guest host, actress Morgan Brittany of Dallas fame and of other fame. Wherever you go, you make quite an impact.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
You penned quite a provocative article for WorldNet Daily. I'm trying to get it up on our website. We will have it up there before the show is out, maybe along with some pictures of you live in studio.
Hey, all right.
But is Donald Trump the next Ross Perot? I mean, I think it's a great question, and one that we will continue to explore during the show. But we're going to get on air. And I was telling you a little bit off break about a situation at the largest peach farm in California, and possibly the country. You have an unholy alliance between the Farm Workers Union, the UFW, which of course was founded by Cesar Chavez and became part of the leftist socialist movement here in this country, and the government. The ALRB, the Agricultural Labor Relations Board. Yes, I can talk. Came in and tried to strong arm the 5,000 workers at Garawan Farms to start paying union dues for a union they supposedly joined back in the 1970s, even though they don't remember. The union has never done anything for them. They're very happy. And so an unlikely hero who we've had on this show, Sylvia Lopez, one of the farm workers, who I met her at a tea party. So much for the Tea Party being racist, because, she's definitely of another race. But one thing about her, she's all American when it comes to fighting for her rights. And even though she struggles a little bit with English, she is eloquent in defending freedom.
Yeah.
And what does Jerry Brown's government do? Do they count the votes? They're always talking about equal access to votes. They're talking about equal access to everything and anything, demanding right after right after right. But so far, they have refused to count the votes. And we're going to bring on Dr. Michael Waller, who has written an article. He is the senior investigative reporter at American Media Institute. And he has written an article on this topic. Dr. Waller, welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show.
Hi, Tim.
You're on with myself and actress Morgan Brittany.
Hi there.
Hi, Morgan. How are you?
I'm good.
So, did you hear the way I laid out this story? I mean, do I have the facts right?
Yes, absolutely. You have, literally, you have the government and the union conspiring together to crush not just employers, which you kind of expect from that state government, but against the workers themselves.
Yeah, this is shocking. I mean, you've got Barack Obama fighting for rights for people in foreign countries, but he seems to have glanced right past the fields of Central California, where a government-created drought has made life a living hell for many, and with these environmental tyranny policies. But here you have something that's even worse, because it's not as if the government's doing its job and let the chips fall where they may. They're an active participant in trying to force these workers against their will into joining a union.
Right. There was a state superior court that actually said that the ALRB and the union are in cahoots with each other against the workers.
Yeah, and you've had
5 different state courts have ruled against the ALRB in this Garawan case. The litigators have lost 5 times in a row, and the last one was a constitutional challenge to throw out a 2003 law that gave the ALRB power to impose union contracts on workers and employers if the union couldn't agree with them.
Wow!
Whoa, that's crazy. So what's next? I mean, if these courts ruled against, what's happening now?
What's happening now is ALRB is pulling out all the stops to try to destroy the ballots that the workers cast back in November 2013. That was almost 600 days ago.
Wait, destroy the ballot?
Destroy them. Yeah, they have not been counted yet from when the workers, because under the law that Cesar Chavez supported and Governor Brown signed 40 years ago, under the law it says specifically workers have the right to vote whether or not they want union representation, and they have the right to vote to decertify a union if they want to. And it's up to the ALRB under the law to be the neutral, impartial advocate for the workers between the unions and the employers. So it's not supposed to take sides toward the union.
And
that's exactly what it's doing.
And the ALRB stands for Agricultural Labor Relations Board. It is an unaccountable, unelected body that serves. Most of the appointees come from Governor Brown or some of the other Marxist progressives pretending to be Democrats who are in power. And they're literally using Gestapo-like tactics to intimidate these farm workers, and they're treating them like they're ignorant and somehow they aren't going to fight back. Sylvia Lopez, I'm gonna quote from your article, Dr. Waller, said it's California's version of the Old South's Jim Crow laws, which of course were put in place by Democrats to keep uppity Latino farm workers in their place. I mean,
wow.
That's what we're dealing with. Whoa. And they're worried about a flag flying over a Capitol in another state, but they're letting this happen to Americans who happen to be of Latino descent just because they are against the union. And the bottom line is our whole government is in cahoots with unions because unions help increase the fiefdom and guarantee government jobs. Isn't that true?
Yeah, but here's the weird thing with the United Farm Workers. They have almost no members.
Yeah, what's up with that? I was reading that they went from like 50,000 members to less than 3,000.
Right, and they faked their numbers to the U.S. Labor Department. They've got to report the figures every year, their income and their expenses and all of this. And they were under 4,000 members, actual active members, as of 2012, as reported to the U.S. Labor Department. 2013 was the year they came in claiming the ground workers, which is about 5,000 workers. And then they all of a sudden, magically, the number spiked up to just over 10,000. But the dues revenue didn't. None of the revenues did. The revenues actually went down. So the UFW is lying about their union membership. But if they can get the Agricultural Labor Relations Board to force the company and the workers to be under union control, they will more than double their real membership, and they'll double their dues revenues.
Wow. So this is about survival for them.
Yeah, because they really don't do much for any of the workers. If you look at their own figures on the Labor Department website, U.S. Labor Department, they spend zero money on strike funds to support workers. They spend zero money to benefit their individual members. You see it, the line item, zero. It mostly goes to payroll, to their own consultants, and to members of the Cesar Chavez family.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. So it sounds to me like, okay, this is where my mind goes, right? I'm looking at the government and the labor board in bed with each other, and it's kind of like the fox overlooking the hen house here. How do we know that they're not colluding with each other, saying, okay, we're going to make the outcome of this vote what we want it to be? I mean, there's no oversight. There's nobody watching this, and there's no control there. So what kind of recourse do these people have?
Well, this is under the terms of the contract that the Labor Relations Board wants to impose on the workers will be forbidden to strike against the government policy. That's part of the contract they want to impose on these workers.
Wow.
But that takes up the very last recourse that the workers have.
See, this is par for the course with the left. They want to force their narrative, force control, force unionization in this case. And here's this amazing woman, Sylvia Lopez, who has risen up to be a leader, not a union leader. She's an anti-union leader. She says, we just want the right to choose. We want to make more money and have better benefits without or she said, we make more money and have better benefits without a union by working with our employer.
She told me that by working cooperatively with Grow and Farming, that they got their basic entry-level wage $11 an hour. Just for your average person coming in, they start out at $11 an hour, which is more than an entertainment, more than somebody working at Disney World or Disneyland makes, or at any of the Legoland. They start out at minimum wage. So you've got these farm workers coming in at $11 an hour, meaning no union help at all on that, and they get other benefits too. They get private school education for kids. They get all kinds of other perks on this. And then she told me something else interesting. She has friends and relatives who work on other farms in the area, and they are members of the union. And you know what they make for being members of the union?
What's that?
They make a grand total of $9 an hour, which is the state minimum wage, before the union takes its 3% out for its dues. Like 3% of their gross income as dues, no cap on it. So the more you work, the more you pay the union.
So that's the new American dream, according to the Democrats. You work harder, you make less, and then you get stolen from by more than just the government.
Wow.
You can't make this stuff up. Hey, if you're just tuning in, we're talking with Dr. Michael Waller, who is a senior investigative reporter with the American Media Enterprise. And we will be back, and we'll take your calls right after this break. 323-746-TALK. I just want to defend my friend Loretta Sanchez. That chick, she is one hot mama. And when she does that war cry, she usually does it right after. Oh, man, there's nothing in the world like making Loretta cry. You know what? I support Kamala Harris for U.S. Senate. I don't know about that Loretta Sanchez chick. She's out there doing that war cry. I thought she kept that stuff in the bedroom. Yeah, Loretta, you do it like this. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, I know. Come on, Loretta, baby. Now you got me all red. No, not red skin. I just red in the face. Welcome back to the Radio Free California Network, where we stream live at timdonnellyshow.com. I am joined today in the Radio Free California Network studios by none other than the award-winning actress Morgan Brittany, who is also a columnist. And by the way, thank you for joining us. Mm-hmm. And I know this story. We're talking about the Garawan farm worker forced unionization story. We've got Dr. Michael Waller, senior investigator at the American Media Institute, on the phone with us, and you just can't believe the story.
No, I really can't. Honestly, I'm listening to him and I'm thinking to myself, okay, everybody's doing, going through the process, going to the courts, following the law, and yet the government and the labor relations boards absolutely ignore the law. When we become a country that completely ignores laws, where are we going from here? Because I feel so bad for these people, that they're looking for justice, they're looking for fairness, they're looking for, equal opportunity under the law, and yet the government is just trampling on them.
Yeah, Dr. Waller, I think she makes a great point. There is no objective, law-based organization here. This is not an arm of the government that's saying, let us evaluate and analyze the facts. They're saying, we don't want to know what the facts are. We don't want to count the votes because we're terrified that it could mean the end of the UFW, and then what would I have to do for a living? I mean, isn't that what this is all about?
Oh, can you imagine if the workers of one of California's largest fruit producers vote to dump the UFW? How catastrophic politically that would be?
Yeah. Well,
wow.
I got a crazy idea, and believe me, I'm prefacing it by saying a crazy idea. Okay? Is everyone? Are you nodding your head in there, Noskinator? Okay, she's nodding her head. Why don't I mean, you've seen, like, if you have a judgment against you, the sheriffs come armed with guns and they throw you out of your house, or they take back whatever property you didn't pay for, etc. They participate in some fashion in making something right. Well, obviously nobody's going to do that. So how about a group of armed citizens that walk into the ALRB and say, we are going to count the votes. We're going to count them now. You're welcome to be present. We're going to videotape it so everyone can see. But you don't get to have this standoff where you just completely ignore the rights of individuals who have lawfully voted according to the law.
Yeah. Yeah, this is how the system is rigged.
That's it? You're not going to tell me I'm crazy?
Well, look, it's Right now, I'm sitting in Virginia, which is both an open and concealed carry state, no question. Anybody over age 21 can have open carry.
So you're laughing at us back there.
Completely, because we go on our farms anyway with our guns, regardless. So we were on this particular issue. Imagine there's a judge who's evaluating all the evidence and holding hearings. The judge is on the payroll of the general counsel of the Agricultural Labor Relations Board.
Oh my gosh!
No.
Wait a minute. Did you ever work on any soap operas?
Yes.
Doesn't this sound like one?
You couldn't make this stuff up. Seriously, his
name is Mark Sobel, and he works in the office of the board's general counsel, Sylvia Torres-Guillen. And so she and her team are the prosecuting attorney, and he's the judge.
Hey, we're losing you there, Dr. Waller.
Oh, sorry. You got me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, well, if you read through the hearing transcripts, you see he's asking prosecutorial questions at the same time, in addition to the UFW's general counsel acting as prosecuting attorney against these workers.
Wow.
It's insanity. And then you even have, in one hearing, you have Judge Sobel saying that the farmers and the workers are not credible witnesses, but this guy, Silas Schauber, he's the board's regional representative up near Fresno, he is a credible witness, even though I think he lied in some of his testimony. That's what the judge said.
You're kidding.
Oh man!
This is what people fled other countries to come to America. This is the reason was the corruption that is so endemic, so obvious, so out in the open that nobody apologizes for it. It's just become business as usual.
Yeah. So anyway, this one guy, Schauber, he's the one who has physical possession of the ballots right now in the Visalia office. And he's been the one who's been trying to make sure that the vote did not take place against the union. And then when he was countermanded, it took place. Then he's the one who's made sure the ballots haven't been counted. He's the operational guy responsible. So he and Sylvia Torres-Guillen and the other attorneys there with the board went and briefed the workers the day before the vote. Hey, here's the voting procedure, blah, blah, blah. If you don't have a photo ID or a government ID, it's okay. Just bring a check stub with your name on it from your employer, and we'll run it against the list of employees. So a lot of workers went and they did that. And
wait a minute, you mean they have voter ID at union votes, but not at the polls?
Yes. Absolutely. Jerry Brown's political appointee, Sylvia Torres-Guillen, imposed a voter ID ambush on Latino farm workers November 5th, 2013, at the Go-On decertification elections. They went, so the next day they changed the rules and they said, no, you guys have to show a government-issued photo ID.
Whoa!
Oh, my gosh. They're trying to keep them from voting.
Yeah. And then the court found, a separate court found that Silas Schauber and Sylvia Torres-Guillen, quote, segregated, in the word of the court, voters who they thought were anti-union, and even marked their ballots in a separate colored envelope to keep them aside so they could be counted differently.
Oh, this is insane. This is insane.
One of the workers said, I used to work in Mexico, and I used to have to be forced to pay dues to my union there so the union would give my money to the corrupt politicians. And I moved to California to escape all that, and it's just like it was in Mexico.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Dr. Michael Waller, thank you for coming on today and sharing that story with us.
Don't you think it's about time you treat yourself or someone you love to something very special? Well, Ozell Jewelers, the finest jewelry store in the high desert, is known throughout the high desert for having the largest variety of fine-looking jewelry and gifts for every special occasion. Ozell custom designs and manufactures their own jewelry, so you'll be able to find exclusive, one-of-a-kind, stunning styles you won't find anywhere else in Southern California. If you're looking for fine jewelry at unbeatable prices, Ozell Jewelers is the place to go. Show appreciation to that special person in your life with something special to cherish forever. Ozell Jewelers, voted best jewelers in the high desert by the Daily Press regularly for years. Ozell Jewelers has been putting smiles on high desert faces for over 30 years. Ozell Jewelers in Rancho Cucamonga, Palm Desert, and Amargosa Road by Red Lobster in Victorville. Ozell Jewelers.
This is the Radio Free California Network, and you are listening to the Tim Donnelly Show. And do I have to call it the Tim and Morgan Show?
You do today.
I have a celebrity guest host, actress Morgan Brittany, who is in studio with us here at the Radio Free California Network studios. And, you know, we were talking on the break about the sheer insanity of the story, which you had not heard before.
No, I didn't know anything about it, and I can guarantee you that probably most of your listeners, most of Californians, have no clue because the media isn't even talking about it. I haven't heard one story on it.
Yeah, and you know what was kind of interesting, because I've studied this story, I've covered this story, I've met many of the players in this story. I know Dan Garawan, the owner, who has said, what are they afraid of? Why don't they just count the votes? But and by the way, it was made public that he pays his workers more than the unionized farm workers. So no wonder they're so happy. They don't want anyone to know their secret. But I had no idea that they had pulled this business with the voter ID.
Yeah.
You know, here you work at the farm, so that's enough. You've got a pay stub. That should be enough, period. And a lot of the farm workers do not have government IDs, and it's not because, well, I'm not going to presume to say that every one of them is legally present. I believe they are, because I know Sylvia, I know Dan. But the bottom line is they're doing what they accuse conservatives of doing, but see, in their heart, they want to keep people from voting.
Yes, exactly.
Whereas conservatives want to guarantee the integrity of the vote so that every vote counts, so that people don't vote who don't have a right to vote, because that would then erase your vote.
Yeah, and isn't it ironic that the left and government is so for choice, and now they're taking their choice away.
Are you saying they're pro-choice? They say they're pro-choice. They say they're pro-choice, but they're only pro-choice they're only pro-choice when it comes to having an abortion. They're not pro-choice when it comes to choosing whatever kind of gun you want.
That's right.
I'll give you an example. There's a beautiful gun on the cover of the NRA Rifleman magazine. My wife saw it, fell in love, and I thought, being a thoughtful, considerate husband, I'm going to go to my favorite gun store, which is Turner's. I'm going to buy her this gun. It's called a Pavlona. It's made in Italy. And I read a review on it by a woman who said she doesn't like the guns that are just pink or turquoise or whatever, and then supposedly that's a woman's gun. She liked the fact that this came in all different colors, including black, and it was made and designed to fit a smaller hand. It was made so that you could reach all the way around and actually hit the magazine release and comfortably without having to, mangle your hand. And the more and more I read, the more excited I got, until I got to the gun store.
Uh-oh.
And then they told me it's not on the list of California-approved firearms.
Oh, geez.
Because they make it so impossible for a gun manufacturer who, by the way, the Pope says are not Christians.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, what's up with that?
I think somebody has gotten a hold of the Pope. They have plugged something into his brain, and they're pumping leftist ideology in through some kind of gas or vapor. I don't know.
I don't know either. I really don't know. I've been questioning a lot lately. Just like, wait. Where is this coming from? What?
And he's more concerned about guns and global warming than he is about abortion and the sanctity of life. And what's going on to the traditional family and the pathologies that are wreaking havoc within society. I mean, instead of the Pope talking about guns, he ought to be talking about God.
Yes.
Because only God can fix what ill there is in the heart of a Dylan Roof.
Well, I'm thinking, maybe I'm wrong and I heard this wrong, but I heard that his chief advisor is an atheist. That's what I heard this morning, and I thought, I've got to be hearing this wrong.
You know what?
This can't be.
We're either making it up or we're making news here at the Tim Donnelly Show is all I got to tell you. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't. I thought, okay, I'm not hearing this right. Wow. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The world's upside down, Tim. It is. What's right is wrong. What's wrong is right. What's male is female, or not anything, or trans. I don't even know.
I got a question. You're a woman.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to be politically incorrect and assume, in case you were really. Let's see. What's a man name that's close to Morgan? Help me out here.
That is a guy's name.
All right.
It was eventually.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you weren't a different kind of Morgan.
No,
why is what is this obsession with having a female president if gender is fluid and gender can be changed and gender is irrelevant and gender isn't gender?
Exactly. I don't
Who cares?
Who cares? Exactly.
I want a competent president. I don't care if the president is black or white. I care if the president is a dictator and a tyrant or a patriot.
That's right. I agree with you. And I don't care if it's a man or a woman or whatever. As long as they're going to lead us out of this and they're going to be a leader and get our country back.
But you're going to evaluate them based on what they say.
Absolutely.
And what they believe.
Absolutely.
And if they believe that government is the solution to every problem, and if they believe government should have more and more control over your life, and government should save you from yourself, okay, well, then you have a choice. His name is Bernie Sanders. He's a socialist. He wants government to control everything, but he's honest about it.
Absolutely.
That's what I like about Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
We got Donald Trump, who you believe may be the next Ross Perot, and
I don't know. I'm just saying, Donald Trump is going to resonate with a lot of people. He is, and Ross Perot did that in '92. He did grassroots movement.
He got me. Ross Perot got me.
Yeah, he was very, very persuasive. Got 19% of the vote too.
And that's after he dropped out.
Yeah, I know it.
But he just had that Texas draw, and he would just always say, all our business, it's all going down south.
That's right.
And
he made
it was a giant sucking sound.
Sense.
He made sense because he was telling the truth, which is what Donald Trump is doing. Now, you may not like it. It may not feel comfortable in a world where we are being intimidated by the media and the culture into being politically correct.
That's right.
And I've never been afflicted with that disease.
No. And more of us have to become less afflicted with that disease. We've got to start fighting back. We cannot let this political correctness rule us. We can't.
Well, you can't live free if you can't think free.
Exactly.
And look, I will never forget the day that I went to join the Minuteman Project. It was April 1st of 2005. I went to Arizona. I went by myself. I had a friend, but he didn't want to go at the beginning. He was going to join me later on, but ultimately never wound up showing up. So I was all by myself. And something interesting in Arizona, you could open carry. And so I had my holster and a Colt 45, not my 45 1911, but a Colt 45. And I was walking down a street in Tombstone. And I'd never experienced anything like that because I didn't know you could do that in California. You could in rural areas, but I didn't know. And now they've since taken that right away. But something dawned on me. It was something so powerful. Because I knew that I could determine my own destiny, but I also felt a tremendous sense of responsibility. Here I have a powerful firearm on my hip, but it doesn't mean I can do whatever I want.
No.
It means that if somebody wants to mess with me, I have the ability, there's no guarantee, but I have the ability to defend myself and defend the life of others. I have the ability to defend my freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have the responsibility to only use that in a moment where it's justified. And see, what I think we're missing today in our culture is any sense of personal responsibility, because that's the other side of freedom.
Absolutely. Nobody takes responsibility for anything anymore. It's always somebody else's fault, and that's especially prevalent on the left. It really is. It's always blame something else. That it's like that mass shooting down there in Charlotte, Charleston. I mean, that was not a gun that did that. That was a crazy kid who did that, who walked in there. And I don't want to get into the weeds, but just imagine if someone in that church had a weapon on them and took that kid out after the first shot. There would have been 8 more people alive.
That's right. That's right. And that's so simple. But you just made me think of something.
Huh.
The left and the media are trying to blame a conservative somewhere, somehow.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
They're trying to paint the right wing with this broad brush that somehow they're racist and the Tea Party's evil. We heard Bill Maher going on and on about that because they want to take their country back and blah, blah, blah. They're trying to tie it into a normal political dialogue and rhetoric that both the left and the right have used over the years, by the way.
Right.
But they're not doing that in the Boston bombing case.
No.
They're not trying to blame all Muslims or all people who follow Islam for what that Sarnoff individual did. Now, Sarnoff came out today and said some of the most offensive things I could possibly imagine, but he did 2 things. One, he took ownership of what he did. He said, I did it. He just said, I did it.
Right.
Now, very interesting. If we're going to be consistent and we're going to accept Sarnoff for saying he did it, he is the one responsible. He has now been sentenced to death, by the way, if you're not aware of that. And I'll read a little bit of his comments in a later segment. But my point is, you don't have the right wing or the left wing out there going out and trying to hold all Muslims accountable for the action of this individual.
Exactly.
But they're trying to make all Christians accountable, all white people accountable for what Dylan Roof did.
That's right.
And anybody who ever looked at the Confederate flag is somehow guilty by association. You know what? There comes a time when we as a society just need to flip the bird. You know, it's funny. Yeah. We had Taya Kyle on yesterday, and I didn't get to this in the interview. But when her husband was being prepared in his coffin, you know, I mean, I can't even imagine what that's like. Here's this young mother, madly in love. Things are finally going right, and he's gone. But she asked the guy who was preparing his body for burial to make his fingers flipping the bird.
Did she really? That's awesome.
We need to follow Chris Kyle's example all the way and flip the bird at this stupidity and reject it out of hand for what it is and give it no credence or credibility. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with your calls after these messages.
I'm Barack Obama, and I don't always listen to talk radio. But when I do, it's the Tim Donnelly Show.
You are tuned to the Tim Donnelly Show. We broadcast live on the Radio Free California Network, but we don't broadcast alone. Today, we have in the Radio Free California studios with us a celebrity co-host, none other than actress Morgan Brittany of Dallas fame. You were the troublemaker on that program.
You might say that.
And I need to inform you that little has changed.
Yes, I know. It was great fun. It really was. It was fun playing the bad guy. I enjoyed it because you could get away with so much. So I kind of understand the left's position being the bad guy. They can get away with so much.
Well, you brought up something interesting on the break about the left has always been the defender against any kind of public displays of faith or religion, any hint of religion creeping into the state.
Exactly.
But now, all of a sudden, since the Pope agrees with their narrative, when the Pope agrees with their insane theory that man is in charge of climate, not God, that all of a sudden they're in favor of mixing not only religion and politics, but they got religion. This is a different alchemy. It's religious politics and science.
Oh, absolutely. They're thrilled to death with this. They're just jumping through hoops. They love it. They'd love for him to preach this to his flock and say, no, global warming, people cause global warming and all this kind of thing. I mean, hey, it's the leftist agenda.
How is it that they get away with this? Because I remember being an eighth grader and seeing the cover of Newsweek magazine with a penguin and a glacier.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe there wasn't a penguin, but there was definitely a glacier, and it said the next ice age. What, are you laughing because I was in eighth grade? What's going on in the production booth there?
I tend to remember that, but see, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know. Al Gore, I mean, in Inconvenient Truth, boy, is that right? And they didn't. Who was it that said that New York was going to be underwater?
It depends on what the meaning of the word truth is.
That's exactly right.
I think there's a lot of people now that are wondering if that was not an inconvenient lie.
There you go. Thank you, Bill. No, it honestly, they said New York City would be underwater June of 2015. Oops.
Yeah.
Oops.
Last time I checked, it's still floating.
I was just there. It's not underwater. I'm telling you, your head's just got to explode. I mean, seriously, it's like crazy lunatic people. I don't know.
We were talking earlier about the power of the unions in California, and coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about an assault on the split. Basically, it's called the split roll. I'll let our guest explain it, but bottom line is they're coming after your business, and then they're coming after your home. And they want to take out Prop 13, but they're doing it in two pieces because they're a lot smarter than the Republicans. They actually have a plan, and they have the ability to execute this plan. And so what they're going to do is take out the money source first. That's the business owners, the commercial property owners, and get their properties reassessed so they can squeeze more tax money and steal more capital from them. And you can't make this stuff up. Here don't we have a $7 billion surplus?
Last time I heard, yeah. At least that's what they're telling us.
Then why are they looking to steal more of our money? We will be talking to Jerry Marshall coming up right after this break. You don't want to miss it.
desert sun, the dogs and the horses and the trucks and the guns, mothers and daughters and fathers and sons, we're Americans. We make up America, this amazing America. Oh, yeah. Home of the brave in America.
That's right. You are listening to an American talk radio show host on the Radio Free California Network. I am Tim Donnelly, your host, former California State Assemblyman and governor candidate. And today I have a co-host, a celebrity co-host, who is right here in the Radio Free California studios with us, actress Morgan Brittany, who was the troublemaker on Dallas. What was your character's name again?
Catherine Wentworth. I was Pamela Ewing's half-sister and the half-sister of Cliff Barnes.
And always in the middle of everything. And she's doing it again. It's funny, we were talking on the break, and your articles are getting under the fingernails of the left.
Yes.
You've got all kinds of leftist bloggers losing it, spilling their coffee in their apoplectic rage in the morning. And here we have a completely different topic, but it is related because we were talking earlier about the unions and their attempt to force unionization in order to hold on to whatever little control and resources they have coming in at the Farm Workers Union. But this one's much more diabolical. There's an assault on Prop 13. And I got an email from a good friend of mine who is a successful property investor who is extremely knowledgeable on Prop 13. His name is Jerry Marshall. Jerry, welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Hey, it's great to have you on.
That introduction.
And they are coming for your business, but eventually they're coming for your residents because they want to raise your taxes. Prop 13 shackled the hands of government back in the late 1970s by limiting how much property taxes could increase. And they just don't believe, they, meaning the Marxist progressives who pretend to be Democrats who control this state, along with the public sector unions, they don't believe they're getting enough of your money and they need to steal more.
That is correct. As you know, when you were a state assemblyman, I gave you some information about I think there were 11 competing bills at one time roaming around your state assembly while the Democrats had a supermajority. And I think the governor was the one who put the kibosh on getting any of those bills approved until after this election, which was very good for the taxpayer because it turned out that the Democrats lost their supermajority.
Thanks in no small part to you, who single-handedly ran a campaign and got someone elected in a district the Republicans had largely given up on.
Yeah, that was a great win for us, and it broke the supermajority. So, but I think you want me to talk more about why this is so important.
Yes, you wrote a letter back to the LA Times. It was very pithy. You're always brief and to the point.
And first of all, I have to thank you for, I think you educated the assembly when I was giving you information on this while you were in the assembly. I don't know if you remember at that time, the split roll ideas included apartment buildings.
Yes, it did.
And I explained to you how you can't raise the cost of producing food or shelter without passing it on to the consumer. And if you remember back in the days of Prop 13, when it got passed, there was a huge majority of renters who came out and voted. In fact, that was still the record turnout for voting in the state of California, and it was a lopsided vote. And so the
against
renters aren't
Prop
stupid.
or in favor of Prop 13.
Yeah. I think what it was going on was that people thought that the landlords were going to end up paying for it, and it just can't be because the margin on landlord. I mean, people think that landlords make a lot of money, but the truth is that their capitalization rate is about a 5% return, and if they don't get that, they just simply don't invest in apartments. So that return, at least at that level, has to be maintained. Therefore, if you raise the property tax, it will get passed on to the renters. And the renters weren't as stupid as we thought. They came out in droves and voted for Prop 13. So whatever you did up there, Tim, I think you did get that message across, because I noticed that the new assault on Prop 13 is just commercial buildings only, which would be retail, industrial buildings, office buildings. And for some reason, these people that are putting this forward don't understand that the consumer will pay again. Mm-hmm. Because on almost every business is either producing a good or service for the consumer. And if you raise the cost of them producing that, eventually it has to get passed to the consumer, because businesses can't stay in business unless they make a profit.
Yeah. So essentially, let's say you got a little mom and pop coffee shop that you love going to every morning, and they lease the little bit of space that they have, and they're able to make it with X number of employees and whatnot, and they're making a profit. But if they're on a triple net lease, what happens to them?
Well, triple net or even double net, these gross leases even include, most leases have, for commercial buildings, have an escalation clause for property tax. As simple as that.
So if property tax goes up,
double net,
it gets passed on.
Absolutely.
And
now,
so
businesses who own their own buildings would have to pay the extra tax, but again, you're increasing their cost of producing their goods or services. If they can't stay in business in California, well, what happens? They just move out of California. You end up collecting less tax, because you not only you don't get the tax off of that business, but you don't get the tax off of the employees that are making money at that business.
So it's going to cost California jobs.
Absolutely. There's already a lot of businesses on that cusp, and CEO Magazine, which rates the states, has rated California out of 50 states as the worst state to do business in.
You mean 50th out of 57
states? We won that title 8 years in a row.
Right. You mean 50th out of the 57 states, Jerry?
Yeah, there you go.
Come on, this is Obama's America.
Right.
Well,
you already know that. I mean, Tesla, we tried to keep them here, but they moved to Nevada. They couldn't make it with that battery factory. Toyota, down here in my neck of the woods, moved to Texas. Boeing left Long Beach. Sony left Hollywood for Vancouver, and on and on. These are middle class jobs.
Well, and we also have an actress right here in studio, Morgan Brittany, mm-hmm. Who when she does work is working in Georgia.
Yeah, my husband does movie after movie in Georgia. In fact, we have a place down there because Hollywood is just virtually dying. It's dying on the vine because everything is just so massively expensive out here in order to get anything done. And I guess they tried to pass something, or they did pass something to keep work in the state, or I don't know. But it doesn't seem to be helping. You go to Georgia, you go to Louisiana, you go to states like that, they are so business friendly that it is they'll bend over backwards to get your business, and it's booming. You can see, this is what I don't understand about these people that want to just keep raising taxes and taking more of your money. They don't understand that when you're friendly to business, it just makes everybody benefit. I don't get it. I mean, I'm not an economist, and I get it.
Yeah, I wish you were in the state assembly.
You better watch it. He might be recruiting you, and your husband doesn't want to be living in Georgia alone. And but she makes a good point, and you do too, Jerry. That not everybody has to be here. So if you don't have to be here, you're giving people another reason to leave. And this is a serious threat. If you're out there and you're thinking, oh, they're not going to push this, they got a $7 billion surplus, think again. They are talking about $9 billion in what they consider to be lost revenue revenue stolen from them by the so-called evil rich. And they've launched a campaign called Make It Fair.
Oh,
well, as you mentioned, this affects all businesses. It's not just the Toyotas that can leave. But like you said, somebody owning a coffee shop, it doesn't matter how big your business is. The percentage of what you're going to lose as a percentage of your profit is almost the same no matter how big you are. I'll give you an example. If the property tax just goes up 0.5% of 1%, and your capitalization rate is 5%, that's 10% of the expected return. Well, what does that mean? That means that the value of the building goes down by 10%. So that if the business can stay, now they can borrow less.
Well, Jerry,
they can't borrow as much money on their business.
Jerry, if the value of a business goes down, don't home rates and the value of a home go down at the same time? Property values.
Well, property values are based a lot on employment. That's the number one thing that bases property value. So if you do lose a business, you're losing property value because people gravitate to move towards where the jobs are. They have to. I mean, it's simple mathematics. So this cannot help property value in residentially or industrial. It won't help any property value. Here's the problem with it, is it's a permanent drop in value because investors know that if they buy a property after this gets passed, that property will get reassessed every year.
Yeah.
Right now, investors think that they can invest in a property and they'll be and their property tax will only go up 2% a year under Prop 13.
Right.
So they can invest with confidence right now.
Hey, Jerry, we got to take a quick break. Let's get back into the details of the actual effect of a split roll attack and assault on Prop 13 right after these messages. Hey, you've heard me talk over and over again about Burro Canyon Shooting Park, which is arguably the greatest place on the face of the earth to exercise your Second Amendment. But it just got better because if you mention the Tim Donnelly Show, they'll give you free stuff. You get a free hat, free coffee cup while supplies last if you mention Tim Donnelly Show. So get out there and get shooting. For directions or more information, call Burro Canyon at 626-910-1344. Hey, if you're just tuning in, you're a little late. We started at 3, but you're in luck because our stream starts and replays the show immediately following. So it's 6:01. You can be hearing the 3 o'clock hour, and it replays in a loop right up until 3 o'clock tomorrow. So, and if you want to check out some of our previous shows, such as our interview yesterday with American sniper Chris Kyle's widow, Taya Kyle, and that was an extraordinary interview, not because of me, but because of her. She was amazing, and you definitely want to hear it. Just go to our previous show's link, and you can hear whatever it is that you missed. Right now, we're talking with Jerry Marcel, a property investor who is very knowledgeable and outspoken on Prop 13. And we also have live in studio, celebrity co-host Morgan Brittany, an actress who came to fame on Dallas being a troublemaker, and nothing's changed there. Still causing trouble.
That's right. Got to do it.
So on the break, Morgan asked a good question. I want to address it real quick. She said, because we did pass a bill to try to attract or keep the movie industry from leaving California. It's a pretty significant industry. It employed a lot of people below the line, and so we passed this tax credit to be competitive with some of the other states, and it was pretty aggressive. And she said, well, why hasn't anything changed? And it's exactly things like this, where everything else in California has some significant measure of government inflation that makes it harder or more expensive to do business here than it should be.
Well said. That is absolutely true. We have the number one sales tax in the country out of 50 states. We're number one gas tax now. We just raised our gas. We were number two, but we didn't want to be number two anymore. We're number one in gas tax. And we're number three in income tax out of 50 states. So you're absolutely right. It's very hard for people to. You got to factor in cost of living for people here as well. So it becomes difficult for business to attract, to attract people to come to California. It's tough.
Yeah.
Very tough.
And we have a government right now that's obsessed with, let's say, for instance, affordable housing. Now, I realize apartment buildings are not in this latest bill, but people have to have jobs in order to afford to pay for the apartment. And when jobs become scarce, then you have more and more people who wind up becoming dependent on the government. And then what does the government do? It looks around and says, well, let's tax the rich people who basically are the job creators, those who have any ounce of capital. And what you're talking about here, you've written a letter to the LA Times, and your letter is very pithy. You said, look, there's 3 real pitfalls here. And Jerry, go through it real quickly for those who didn't hear it. What's the big deal with the split roll, and how's it going to affect the average person?
Well, I'll just go through them very quickly. The first thing is it's going to raise the cost of providing goods and services, period. It has to. So consumers will pay. Almost all these taxes end up being a consumer pay thing. I could go through all the different types of taxes they are, but at the end of the day, we all pay them in some way or another. The second negative effect is that a lot of businesses don't have to do business in California. Therefore, you keep on raising the tax. They're already leaving, and you're just giving them another excuse. So, and all businesses either own or lease their commercial space, whatever type it is. Therefore, they're going to pay the increase in tax. There's no way out for it. And if they pay the increase in tax, let's say they stay. They pay an increase in property tax. Their profit's going to go down, and the city or the state is going to get less income tax off their profits if they stay.
So you're saying there's a point of diminishing returns.
Exactly. Point of diminishing returns. Well said.
Yeah,
So,
I just don't understand why any business would relocate to California knowing that they're going to get penalized for everything that they do. I mean, it's ridiculous. You think about this. Okay, so, say they get rid of Proposition 13, which is their goal, and that's what they want to do. What is the incentive for a business to come here if they know that they're going to be taxed to death? I mean, this is ridiculous. It's almost like, okay, yeah, the weather's great in California, it's beautiful, but just charge us a resort fee. I mean, seriously, instead of raising our taxes, this is just ridiculous what they're doing. They're pushing people out. We've got the highest rents, I think, apartment rents now, higher than ever. I just don't see.
Well, it is in certain areas. San Francisco, for example, is past New York in high rent.
Yeah, it's just insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. And, what blows my mind is if we're number one in taxation, how can we be number 45th in scores for K-8 education?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, we're that high?
Be number one in taxation, and that doesn't endear people to move their business here or come here to work here either.
Exactly.
If they're smart and they look at and they care about their kids, why would they?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we know the answer. We have government of the unions, by the unions, and for the unions, and that $9 billion that they have turned into a target, they put it in the crosshairs, is all about increased pensions, making the pensions solvent so that they can retire and move out of California, by the way, and then not have to pay anything for their medical benefits, and it's unsustainable. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, the pension, and you also forgot about like paying interest on bond debt and building fast trains. All of this, none of this stuff really helps the average guy.
No, it doesn't.
No.
We're expecting it to pass this debt on, I think, to our kids or something. I don't know.
Jerry Marshall.
It's immoral.
Thank you. It is immoral. Thank you for coming on today. We got a lot more of the Tim Donnelly Show coming up after this break. If you've been listening long to the Tim Donnelly Show, you know that we talk constantly about defending freedom and about defending our natural inalienable rights. The Firearms Policy Coalition is a partner of the Tim Donnelly Show. But more than that, they're on the front lines every day in Sacramento and all across the state, in the courts, defending your Second Amendment right. That is a natural right that the government merely acknowledged in the Second Amendment. If you value your freedom, then you need to join Firearms Policy Coalition. Become a member. I'm a member, and I'm happy to support an organization that is doing such an incredible job. Go to joinfpc.org. The Tim Donnelly Show sent you. Or go to timdonnellyshow.com and click on the FPC link to make it easy. But whatever you do, join today. FPC.org. You are listening to the Radio Free California Network. I am your host, California State Assemblyman Tim Donnelly, and I'm joined today by actress Morgan Brittany, who has agreed to co-host the Tim Donnelly Show. And by the way, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. This is so much fun, and I love your bumper music. I'm like dancing over here. It's awesome.
Well, one thing that is a credit to the Noskinator.
I love it.
Does a great job of picking the music, and there's an 80-year-old man that calls in once in a while and compliments her on the bumper music. You can't make this stuff up. But I'm going to switch gears. This is not a fun story in the least, but the good news is that the Boston Marathon bomber, Dozar Sarnav, we won't have to say his name much longer because he got the death penalty. It'd be nice if they just carried it out. I mean, he did say, I did it. So wouldn't it be nice if they could just put him to death like this afternoon? And they could save the money on the last meal.
I'll drink to that.
No halal, no playing nicey nice. We're just going to kill you.
That's right.
Because you killed a bunch of innocent people and maimed people for life. But he decided that he wanted to make a statement, and the judge let him. And this is what he said. He said, I am Muslim. My religion is Islam. I pray to Allah to bestow his mercy on those affected in the bombing and their families. I pray for your healing. He also said, I ask Allah to have mercy on me, my brother, and my family. And I'm like, you killed in the name of your God. Now you pray to your God? I thought your God wanted us dead.
Yeah. Oh, this guy.
So,
what a piece of work.
I wish they would have allowed a video camera in that courtroom. I think it's unconscionable.
What an insult that is to the victim's family to stand up there and say that's almost like a slap in the face to them.
It is.
You know?
It is. And fortunately, many of the victims' families were able to come forward, and they were given a moment to speak. And it was a very tense and emotional outpouring and outrage. But they had so much more class than him. One woman, Patricia Campbell, mother of victim Crystal Campbell, who was only 29 years old, said, "I don't know what to say to you. What you did to my daughter was disgusting." Bill and Denise Richards, the parents of Martin Richard, denounced Sarnev for choosing to help his brother, Tamerlan, wage the attack, which not only killed Martin, but inflicted grievous injuries on the rest of the family. I mean, they were there watching a race. They were participating in a sporting activity. They weren't harming anyone.
No.
They weren't a threat to... Look,
No.
if holding the Boston Marathon is a threat to your religion, then your religion sucks.
Yeah.
Did I just say that?
Exactly.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And the same standard should, he should be held to the same standard as that kid that killed all those people in Charleston. And instead of anybody saying, you know what, radical Islam, that's a problem. It is a real problem that we're having to deal with. But they don't say that. They're not saying any of that. They barely even mention that.
No, they don't even acknowledge that this guy is an Islamic jihadi. And by the way, Islam is the only faith that promotes the murder of others in defense of the faith. Mm-hmm. And as a legitimate means of preserving and promoting this so-called religion. The judge did actually chastise Sarnev and said he would be remembered as a symbol of evil. He said, no one will remember that your teachers were fond of you, that you were funny, a good athlete. Whenever your name is mentioned, what will be remembered is the evil you have done. What will be remembered is you murdered and maimed. It was a monstrous self-deception. You had to forget your own humanity, the common humanity that you shared with your brother.
You know what, Tim, I only wish that were true. I only wish what the judge said was true. But you know as well as I do that when you Google this kid's name 5 years down the line, what do you think is going to come up? Rolling Stone magazine. Absolutely glorifying this kid. And then you'll have leftists standing out when it's time for him to be executed, and they'll stand out with signs saying, please give him mercy.
He'll be the Che Guevara of the next generation.
Exactly.
And if you don't know who Che Guevara was, he was the hitman, the lynch man of Castro. He was Fidel Castro's hitman.
And he's on T-shirts that kids wear today.
Yeah. And they're all horrified at well, they're not horrified at murder because they embrace it. But the truth is, they don't know. They've been brainwashed to believe this guy's some kind of hero, and they put the colors of basically the marijuana flag, the Bob Marley flag type, all around it, and everybody's high, and so they're like, well, I guess he's a hero. Let's go glorify Che Guevara.
Yeah, they don't even know
they
who
will
he
do
is.
the same thing with this Sarnev guy.
I guarantee you they will, because I think that was one of the most disgusting things when I saw Rolling Stone put him on that cover looking like a rock star and having everybody, feeling sorry for him and getting his side of the story. You know what? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, bullet to the back of the head. I don't know, just saying.
All right. Let's hear it.
Yeah, we've had about enough of him here.
We've had enough of that.
Here at the Tim Donnelly Show. Anyway, it's a
it just really makes you crazy because I'm sorry. This is I want him off my radar. I want him out of here. That's it.
Well, let's go to some calls and see what you have to say. Hey, welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show.
Yeah, my name is Jake Sizemore, and I'm calling about the flag upheaval in the South, about the Confederate flag. And if they want that flag taken down and the people in the South obliterated, I think they ought to quit raising the Mexican flag everywhere in California.
Well, you make a good point. And by the way, our opinion of the Confederate battle flag is very simple. I don't believe in banning symbols. I believe in standing up for freedom of speech. And there is a legal process by which that decision will be made in South Carolina. And it's up to the legislature there to defend and protect what the people in South Carolina want, and everybody else can go pound sand. But you've made a good point, Jack. Mm-hmm. Thanks for calling in. And we will take another call. Welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show. Welcome to the show. You're on air.
I hear somebody.
Hello.
Hello. Maybe not.
Well, you're live on air if you want to be, but if you got to say something. Okay, maybe that was a missed dial. Do you think somebody butt dialed the Tim Donnelly Show?
Could be. Oh, I don't know. We really have to. We have to think about it in a logical way. You know, logic and common sense has just kind of gone out the window. Everybody has a knee-jerk reaction to everything these days. It's like immediately they want to just tear everything down or make a rash decision. Nobody really thinks anything through anymore. Yeah. They don't think of repercussions.
Well, you're right. They don't think of the precedent that you're setting.
No, they don't.
For today, it's the Confederate battle flag. Tomorrow, maybe it becomes illegal for you to be white.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to paint yourself a different color, or you have to pay a tax for being white.
Yeah, well, they're already demonizing whites. I mean, if you listen to CNN, even CNN, they're bringing things up, like white privilege and all this kind of stuff that they just keep over and over. The mantra just keeps going on. And well, I'll tell you, guys like you, white guys, forget about it. I mean, you're just like demonized. I can't even tell you. It's terrible. At least I'm a woman, right? I mean, at least I got that going for me.
You heard it right
I'm
here.
not a white guy.
You heard it from Morgan Brittany, who just says it like it is.
Yeah, don't quit saying my name over and over. They'll come after me.
Well, you told me they already are.
They are.
That you were offered a job down in Georgia in a movie.
Yeah,
it would have been a good job. Would have been fun.
Would have been lovely. Yeah.
And then next thing you know, they retract it because
they Googled my name.
They Googled you, and they discovered that you have opinions.
I was a quote conservative. Oh no.
Now, if you were a left-wing loon,
I'd have been fine.
Yeah.
They couldn't have signed that contract fast enough.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we will take your calls when we get back for the final segment on the Tim Donnelly Show. Stay tuned. Hey, if you find yourself in my hometown of Twin Peaks, don't leave without stopping by the grill at the Antlers Inn. It's right in the heart of Twin Peaks. They serve dinner every night. They're right there at Highway 189 and Bear Springs Road. They have the best steaks, the best sushi. No matter what you have, make sure you call ahead for a reservation. 909-336-2600. 909-336-2600. And tell them Tim Donnelly sent you. home stretch, and you are listening to the Tim Donnelly Show, and I'm joined today by actress Morgan Brittany, who got into more of her fair share of trouble on Dallas as a troublemaker, and now is educating the world on WorldNet Daily. She's a columnist, and you have quite a following with your articles, and you have provoked a tremendous backlash.
Oh, yeah, because I wrote about Ferguson, I wrote about Baltimore. I said, is Baltimore a setup? What is this? What are they doing? Why is this orchestrated? What's going on? Oh, the left blogs just went crazy nuts. They did. They went crazy.
And now you're touching the third rail in American politics, if there is one anymore. I don't even know if that term means anything.
Yeah, I don't either.
But, of course, the GOP establishment and the left-wing establishment, which essentially they're one and the same once they get elected. But the GOP establishment hated Ross Perot.
Yeah.
And you're asking the question in your latest article, is Donald Trump the next Ross Perot? And he's certainly resonating with a lot of people. I don't know about you, but if you like Donald Trump, give us a call. 323-746-TALK is our number, 323-746-8255. But I hope he doesn't have the same ending, because I remember when I was first becoming aware of Ross Perot and fell in love with the guy. And because he was fighting for us, for those of us who worked for a living. I had a small business in manufacturing, and he identified the threat of a trade deal that wasn't negotiated in the best interest of the average American.
Right, right.
And we've suffered the consequences, and so has Mexico and Latin America, and it's always suffered by those with the least, those who are working and struggling and fighting to move up the ladder.
Isn't that ironic?
And he was a champion of the little guy, which Donald Trump sounds like, even though he's a billionaire. Okay, so you know that's a little bit of a stretch there, but I'm hoping that he doesn't suffer the same fate, because I don't think Ross Perot was prepared for the level of scrutiny, to have people rummaging through your garbage, hacking your email, spying on you, attacking you, attacking your family. And he finally said, hey, I don't have to do this, I'm out.
Right. No, but you think about where Trump's been. He's been through it. He's been up, he's been down. If you look at his books that he's written, I mean, he lost everything. He came back. He's a true a success story. And this man is a self-made billionaire. I mean, he's not afraid to say it either.
Well, I hope you're right. Let me interrupt you 1 second. We'll take a call. Welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show.
Hi.
Hey,
you're
hi.
Right. I just wanted to say I think Donald Trump would make a great president. I thought Ross Perot would have been good, and like you said, he got hit pretty hard on things he didn't expect. But I think Donald Trump is prepared for that.
Yeah. What do you like the most about him?
I mean, he's all for American business and stuff.
Yep. You're absolutely right.
I like the fact he says it like it is, and he just doesn't care.
Yeah, and I think he's going to help push the Second Amendment stuff too.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I like straight talk. I'm so sick and tired of politicians parsing words and lying to our faces over and over and over. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. And at least Donald Trump gets out there. That's why I can't wait for the debates. I hope he makes it into the debates, because he will tear them up.
I do too.
Well, thanks for the call.
Thank you. I love the show.
Oh, you got it.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right, bye.
Well, we are almost out of time. I mean, time just flew.
I can't believe it. This is great. We covered a lot, too.
We did. It was a great conversation. I want to thank you for driving out here and co-hosting.
Oh,
because
I love it. This is great.
It certainly It's a lot more fun having someone to talk to rather than being in isolation, locked away inside, of an isolation booth.
The little soundproof booth. I love it. It's great. Yeah, but it's great. The guests today were wonderful. I learned things I didn't even know that were going on that the mainstream media never touches. Thank goodness that you bring this stuff to the people's attention.
Well, this is what we do every day at the Tim Donnelly Show. We defend liberty by exposing the quiet tyranny of our government. But I don't do this alone. Today, I definitely didn't do it alone. Thank you to actress Morgan Brittany. I would like to thank my wife for letting me do this. I'd like to thank Bethany Nosko, the Noskinator, being the extraordinary producer.
Awesome.
And Cassie Cassidy, our intrepid guest booker, who continues to bring us great guests. Sean McNeil, who is a technological genius who makes all of this run. And John, our consultant, and you, the listener, because without you, it's not a talk radio show.
That's right.
We will be back tomorrow at the same time, same station, Radio Free California Network. Tim Donnelly Show. God bless and Godspeed. Tim Donnelly Show out.